We're here today, you know, when I learned about the murder of 17-year-old Brian Simpson, which happened in the middle of the afternoon right when he was coming from school and getting off the bus, that hurt me to my core, because I know many people that live in that neighborhood. School 22, I'm sorry, it's the Flower City School, School 54 is there. And we knew that we had to bring the individual that was responsible for justice. But it was also a reminder to us of the preciousness of life, the challenges that we have with gun violence, and the challenges that we have in our community. And I see many folks from the U.S. Marshals that are here that were instrumental in bringing the perpetrator of this heinous crime to justice. And I want to thank them for their partnership and leadership that they've had with the Rochester Police Department, the Monroe County Sheriffs, and the New York State Police. I'm a father of 2 boys, and I always put myself in the shoes of the individual families that have lost a loved one, but also in the shoes of the perpetrator, because it closes opportunities for that person, because they made a choice that they cannot take back and rob the community of a life that could have went on to cure cancer or fly us to Mars. All these things are lost when we continue to see this senseless violence in our streets. I want to have the chief, I'm going to turn it over to the chief and have him come talk about the particulars of this case, and then he will turn it over to Sheriff Baxter, and then we'll come back and take some questions. But we are happy and we're praying that justice will be served in this murder of Bryson Simpson, a 17-year-old student in the Rochester City School District. But it is a clarion call and a reminder to all of us in the community that we have an obligation and a responsibility to, when we see something, say something, but more importantly, to get in front of young people before they make decisions that can change the trajectory of their life. So, Chief, you want to come up, talk about the particulars of this case? Again, I want to thank all of our partnerships. You know, we talk about partners. This arrest was the result of partnership between all of the entities that I mentioned, and it would not have happened without those partnerships. So we're sending a clear message in our community that the illegal guns and homicides are something that we are not going to tolerate. Not going to tolerate it. Too many lives are being lost. But we're just not going to sit down and say we're not going to tolerate it. We're going to actually work together to try to transform it and make sure that we change it. And that is what you see around here. The men and women in uniform working together to do this, along with the community. We can have all the intelligence in the world, but if we don't have that community cooperation, nothing will change. So Chief Smith, followed by the sheriff, and then we'll take any other questions that folks may have.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the media release in front of me for the arrest. I'm not going to read the whole document to you. It was sent out Friday night, so you should have it. You know, Friday night at about 11 o'clock, my phone rang, and it was our Marshal, Charles Salina, calling to let me know that we had Mr. Floyd in custody. About 60 seconds after they had him in custody, actually, because this has been such a big priority for us. So I just want to, again, thank the Marshals Task Force, our partnership with the state police and the sheriffs. You know, we've been seeing it in the news, we've been seeing it all over. You know, sheriff's presence on Garson Avenue over the weekend, state police presence, different locations in the city. So, you know, it's working. We are going to continue to work together. And, you know, my message is this: if you're going to hurt someone or murder someone in the city of Rochester, you know, Captain Umbrino and his team are relentless in working in combination with the marshals and our partners. You will be arrested and you will be prosecuted. But we also need to remember that by the time it gets to us, it's too late. One life lost, one life ruined. We need to get to a point where this doesn't come on our table at all. Because as I've said many, many times, you know, arresting our way out of this problem is not the way we're going to get out of this situation. But I want to, again, thank everyone. And, you know, we are 1 week into our initiative, our anti-violence initiative with the state police and the sheriff's office. I can't thank them enough, and we already are starting to see some differences. So thank you, and I'm going to hand it over to the sheriff.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief. Two things come to mind when this arrest was made. One, we had a press conference a couple weeks ago. Our intel showed that this kid wasn't only running from us, but was being helped in the community. On the other side of that, a lot of our information comes from the community that solves these apprehensions are made by. So, you know, it's so important that we work together with the community, but more importantly, I think the Chief nailed it. This Marshals Task Force is prolific. This Marshal Task Force is grabbing people with guns, grabbing people wanted for homicides, grabbing people wanted for shootings all over the state, if not all over the country. And it's not for the tenacity of those men and women, but I want to illustrate the importance of their job, but also the danger of their job. They are going after known shooters for a living. They're chasing people over fences at night, grabbing people that are wanted, know they're wanted, possess guns, already been arrested multiple times for guns. How many CPW second arrests, warrant arrests are they making? That's a person that had a gun, didn't come back to court, and they got to go get them again. It's dangerous business that they're doing for a living, and they're doing it on behalf of this community because the community is suffering right now, and they need to not stop. With the investigative elements coming out of the Rochester Police Department, great cases being put together, and the task force, the Chief nailed it. We're going to get you. We're going to get you. We'd rather you not do the horrific act like the mayor said, but if you do it, we're going to do all we can to bring you to justice. But these guys are risking it all every day. I just want to appreciate them for what they do for a living. Thanks.
Thank you. And it's about collaboration, cooperation, and coordination. Collaboration, cooperation, and coordination. No one's operating in their silos. No one is pointing fingers at the other. And that's what you see here, represented as well as with the U.S. Marshals. And I want to thank Chuck Salina and his team and his men and women on the Marshals Task Force for their work. And as the Chief said, by the time it gets to these guys, it's too late. So today, as we are speaking, Victor Saunders and his team, they're on the west side of the city, and they're doing what we call uplift, where they're going door to door, talking about job opportunities, when they're talking about mediation opportunities, to try to get folks before they get into the system, before the marshals or the sheriffs or the state police or RPD has to pick you up. There is another path. There is another path. Again, I want to offer my heartfelt condolences to the Simpson family that lost a 17-year-old child for nonsense. It's nonsense. No one can tell me that any of these homicides have been justified. None of them have been. And anyone that says that they are is lying to you and the community. Every single one of these homicides that we've seen this year, these were not justifiable homicides. Period. They're over nonsense. They're over senseless beefs. And we've seen too many mothers and fathers crying over that. But we're doing something about it, and I think that this arrest illustrates that. With that, we will take any brief questions that anyone may have on this topic, and then we will wrap up. But again, I want to thank the Marshals Task Force and the collaboration that we have seen for their efforts to make sure that we work together to take violent individuals who want to carry illegal guns off of our streets. Questions? Yeah. I'm not going to. I don't think we can get into any of the particulars.
Yes, it was an isolated, targeted incident.
I think the community always plays a role in all these things. These folks can't do it by themselves. They have to work with the community, and I think that's the piece that the message that we think we want to continue to convey to folks, that we could have a gazillion police officers, a gazillion marshals patrolling our city, but if the community does not cooperate with that, it won't happen. So the community always plays a role, must have a role, and must continue to play a role in us being able to bring people to justice when they perpetrate these heinous gun crimes. I'll turn that over to RPD.
The investigation is still continuing, so I'm not going to comment either way on that. one of the goals was, you know, high visibility deterrence. And I mean, again, just take a look at the news, take a look over the weekend. People are seeing the sheriff's cars, they're seeing the state police cars, they're seeing the patrols.
And I think, to answer that, I mean, the metric is simple. People who are carrying illegal guns that we're getting. If you look at the release that was just sent out, CPW, criminal possession of a weapon, RPD's picking up tons of people, criminal possession of a weapon. The state police has been doing a great job picking up folks, criminal possession of a weapon. County has picked up a few criminal possessions of a weapon. We want to get illegal guns off the street, period. That's a metric. But here's the challenge. It seems like for every gun that these guys take off the street, there's like 2 more that come in. And that's another problem that we have to deal with. And if you talk to folks who have worked in the ATF for years, we have never seen, and you all have been in law enforcement much longer than I have been. I'm not a law enforcement person. But hearing from these folks, they are seeing more illegal guns than they've seen in years. And that's a challenge. We have to send the message that people need to not be carrying these illegal guns. But if they're carrying them, the reason why this partnership is so important, because we want to make sure that we get them and get those illegal guns off the street, because they're wreaking havoc in our community for no reason.
Also, would Junior had been considered armed and dangerous at the time of the U.S. Marshals Task Force press conference. Was he found to be in possession of any illegal guns at the time of his arrest?
Again, still finishing up the final phases of the investigation, so we'll let you know. He is still in custody. I think he was supposed to be arraigned tomorrow, but I'm not sure.
Any other questions? All right, thank you all for coming here today. We greatly appreciate it. And again, I want to thank the partnership with the task force and all of our partners in law enforcement who have made this possible. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, Chief.